Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Fiqh class. We're continuing the discussion of the book of prayer. And we mentioned earlier an important issue about the qada and the ada. We're still discussing the conditions of the qada. Qada means to make up what you missed. We mentioned an important discussion about the follower if he missed part of the prayer with the imam. After the salam of the imam, this part that was missed, is it qada or ada? We mentioned that some scholars considered it qada, means that whatever you missed, you are making up. So if you missed 2 rak'ah of the Maghrib, you consider yourself prayed the last rak'ah and you make up the first 2 rak'ah. While other scholars considered it ada, so you are continuing what you did. Each one has an opinion based on the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever you catch, you pray. Whatever you miss, you make up or you continue. Now, we're continuing the same discussion. We will discuss when the follower is assumed to catch the Jum'ah prayer. You remember on Friday, we have the khutbah and we have the prayer. But sometimes a person won't catch except the prayer. He won't attend any of the speech of the imam. What's his ruling? The other thing is, when the follower is to follow the imam in the prostration for forgetfulness, if the imam made a mistake and he is doing sujood sahu, when can we consider the follower the same thing, in the same ruling with the imam, and he has to do it also? Another issue is when the traveler has to follow the imam, if the imam is resident. We know the traveler can pray 2 rak'ah, but if he prayed behind a resident imam, does he have to pray 4 or he can pray 2? These are issues that we will discuss. So the first one is the Jum'ah prayer. Someone came to the masjid, especially in our time where people are very tight in their schedule. They leave work and they want to go back quickly, so they have only half an hour break. By the time they reach the masjid, the imam already finished the khutbah and started the prayer. What do you tell him? He missed 1 rak'ah. What do you tell him to do? Now, if someone came while the imam said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and this could happen. The khutbah ends roughly at 2 o'clock. But this man came 2 minutes before 2. He came 1:58, hoping that he will catch the prayer. But on that day in particular, the imam finished earlier. He finished 1:58. The moment he reached, the imam was saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What does this person do? What should he do? Hello? Online, I need your pray for rak'ah. Exactly, he prays dhuhr. All scholars for imams, they agreed he prays dhuhr. Why? Because he missed the Jum'ah. He did not catch anything, neither the khutbah nor the prayer. So he prays dhuhr. Okay, another scenario, the one that you see. Someone came and he caught the imam in the 2nd rak'ah. The imam finished the 1st rak'ah. He started the prayer 3 minutes earlier. By the time this person came, parked his car, reached to the line, the imam was saying Allahu Akbar, and he started reciting Al-Fatiha, the 2nd rak'ah. So this follower caught with the imam 1 rak'ah. When the Imam says Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, this person, he will stand up and he will pray. What should he pray? Jum'ah. So how much he should pray more? One more rak'ah. One more rak'ah. Again, all scholars agreed that he prays one more rak'ah. The issue where they have difference, if this person came after the Imam said Sami'a Allahu liman hamida from the second rak'ah. So this follower missed how many rak'ahs? 2. The Jum'ah is how many rak'ahs? 2. So he missed both rak'ahs. What should he do in this case? Pray Dhuhr. He caught sujood. He caught tashahhud. He caught salam with the Imam. What do you tell him to do? Sumayya. This is the issue where scholars differed. The majority of scholars, including Malik, Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, they said he prays Dhuhr. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ says, Man adraka rak'ah. Whoever caught rak'ah, he caught the prayer. Did this person catch any rak'ah? No. Which means, did he catch the prayer? No. What did Abu Hanifa rahimahullah say? He said he prays 2. Only 2. That's the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. How many rak'ahs do you pray? 2. Why? What's his evidence? Now for the Jumhur, again the evidence is clear. Whoever caught 1 rak'ah, he caught the prayer. Which means, by mafhum al-mukhalafa, if you don't catch any rak'ah, you did not catch the prayer. So you cannot pray Jum'ah. Because the Jum'ah is with the Imam. You did not pray with the Imam. Even though you caught sujood, you caught tashahhud, you caught salam, that's not enough. But Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah says no. He prays 2 rak'ah only. Why? He said that the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا جُعِلَ الْإِمَامُ لِيُؤْتَمَّ بِهِ. The Imam is only assigned to be followed. You follow the Imam. Did you catch the Imam or no? When you prayed, you followed the Imam or you prayed before him? He did sujood and you did ruku', or you are doing sujood behind the Imam? What are you doing? You're following the Imam. How many rak'ahs did the Imam pray? 2. You pray 2. That's the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. You pray 2 based on the general hadith. The Imam is only assigned to be followed. That's clear from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While what you are saying, or majority of scholars, you're saying something based on the understanding. And this is general, so it takes precedence. Which opinion is stronger? What do you pray? 4 or 2? Jum'ah? You follow the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah? But here, I'm saying here. It makes more sense? Why?
Because you still follow the Imam in that prayer, even though you didn't catch the rak'ah.
Well, again, that's the evidence of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. Keep the general as it is, unless there is something to specify it. And usually, the general text, the generality of the general text is stronger than mafhum al-mukhalafa. Even the majority of scholars agree on that. So based on that, he says, my opinion is stronger, although it is the majority of scholars. Again, it's up to you. Whatever you choose, make sure you have an evidence for it. It is an issue of disagreement. We have these 2 clear opinions. So this is the first issue. The second issue, if there is a traveler praying behind a resident, based on the same disagreement, you came for Isha prayer, but you did not catch anything except the salam. You came in the tashahhud and the Imam said Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. You stood up. What do you pray? 4 or 2? Because if you say, based on the same general rule, you are assigned to follow the Imam prayed what? 4 or 2? 4. While if you say, whoever caught 1 rak'ah, he is considered to catch the prayer. If you did not catch any rak'ah, then you did not catch the prayer. You pray your prayer, which is what? 2. What if you caught 1 rak'ah? All scholars agreed, you pray what? 4. But the difference is when you don't have any rak'ah with the Imam. You prayed only by yourself. And this is what I want to read from the book, the second issue. Page 215. Open the book, page 215, from the beginning of the page. Sub-issue 3. Read.
Sub-issue 3. A group of jurists said that if the traveler catches less than 1 rak'ah of the prayer of the Imam who is in the settlement, he is not to complete the rest of the prayer as one having the status of the resident. But if he catches 1 rak'ah, completion is binding upon him.
Okay. Can you hear her? No. 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 Very, very low. Repeat again one more time. If
A group of jurists said that if the traveler catches less than 1 rak'ah of the prayer of the Imam.
Hold on. Can you hear her? Cuts off. Okay, forget it. You need to fix this issue. I mean, we need to read.
Yesterday was working yesterday.
No, they complained also yesterday. Can you hear her tapping? Yeah, they can. So you should be able to hear her voice. Okay, let's try.
From the beginning. A group of jurists said that if the traveler catches less than 1 rak'ah of the prayer of the Imam who is in the settlement, he is not to complete the rest of the prayer as one having the status of the resident. But if he catches 1 rak'ah, completion is binding upon him. This then is the hukum of qada for part of the prayer when the Imam had started prayer before the follower. The jurists agreed with respect to the hukum of qada for part of the prayer that occurs because of the forgetfulness of the Imam or of the individual praying independently, that he is to observe as qada. Whatever is an essential element of the prayer, that is an obligation, and it is not valid for him unless he performs this part. There are, however, issues in it over which they disagreed, with some making qada, making of the missing parts, obligatory in them, and others imposing repetition, as in the case of a person who forgets to make 4 prostrations in 4 rak'ahs.
Okay, this is another issue now. We have the issue of the traveler and the issue of the follower who misses parts of the prayer with the imam. Because again, they are very similar. If you say this traveler is to pray only 2 rak'ah, for the imam, the 3rd and the 4th rak'ah, these are mandatory, these are pillars. If he missed, the entire prayer is incorrect. So how would you tell a follower to do something it is enough for him, while not to do 2 rak'ahs which were obligatory? It is as if you're considering him not doing 2 pillars, which is the 3rd and the 4th rak'ah. But why they said that? Because he is a traveler, and he did not catch any rak'ah with the imam, so he, as if he did not catch the prayer itself. What about another issue, which is the prostrations? How many prostrations do we have every rak'ah? 2. What if in 4 rak'ahs, first rak'ah you did only 1 prostration, then you stood up. Second rak'ah you did only 1 prostration, then you stood up. Third rak'ah you did only what? 1 prostration. Fourth rak'ah you did only 1 prostration. Could it happen? Maybe. I mean, you should strike the one who does it. That means he does not really know what he's doing. He's too busy, but it could happen. What if it happened? What's the ruling? Someone came to you, told you studied fiqh. Tell me, what should I do? In every rak'ah, instead of doing 2 prostrations, I did only 1. Yeah, he forgot. He knows in every rak'ah there are 2 prostrations, but he did only 1. What do you tell him? Repeat what? The prayer? Yeah, that's easiest thing, right? Be on the safe side and do the entire prayer. That's what some scholars said. Sujood sahu. Is sujood sahu sufficient in this case? No, it is not. Actually, we're coming to sujood sahu next. What do you do? Four more prostrations, consecutive prostrations. That's the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. You do 4 consecutive prostrations. That's what you missed. But some scholars considered the order of the prayer. You cannot do ruku' after sujood. When the ruku' is done? Before sujood. So that means in the first rak'ah, you did qiyam in the second rak'ah before you did the sujood in the first rak'ah. So you missed the first rak'ah. Same thing with the second rak'ah. You messed up the entire order. So the prayer is null. And that's what some scholars said, you have to repeat it. Other scholars said no. You make 4 consecutive prostrations for every one of them, and that is sufficient. Other scholars said the last rak'ah is valid. Why? You just need to add, because it is the last rak'ah, nothing happened after it. The last rak'ah, you pray 1 sajda, and you consider this is 1 rak'ah. Then you have to make up what? 3 rak'ahs. 3 rak'ahs. Full rak'ah. Another opinion says, how many sujoods did you make in 4 rak'ahs? 4 sujoods. For every rak'ah, how many sujoods? 2. So you consider 2 for the first rak'ah and 2 for the second rak'ah. So how many you should do now? 2 rak'ah. Okay? Again, what's the basis on all this? There is no direct evidence. Here comes your job as student of knowledge. Here comes the fiqh. That's why I want to read this also. Continue where we stopped. Second paragraph. The jurists agreed with respect to the hukm of qada
The jurist agreed with respect to the hukum of qada for part of the prayer that occurs because of the forgetfulness of the imam or of the individual that he is to observe a qada. Whatever is an essential element of the prayer, that is an obligation, and it is not valid for him unless he performs this part.
Yes, you cannot say, I will just do sujood sahu. If it's pillar part, you have to do it. You have to do this part.
There are, however, issues in it over which they disagree.
What are these issues? Again, let's say we agree with you that these are parts, essential elements of the prayer. It has to be done. Does it have to be done in sequence? Is the order a condition? Or we can just do them at any time. If we remembered, it is four sujood, so we do them consecutively. Okay.
Case of the person who forgets to make 4 prostrations in 4 rakahs. Missing 1 prostration in each rakah, a group of jurists thus said that he rectifies the 4th by rectifies the 4th by the prostrating and deems the earlier rakahs as nullified and then repeats them. This is Malik's opinion. Another group of jurists said that the prayer is nullified as a whole and repetition becomes binding upon him.
See, that's easy, right? To tell him, repeat the entire prayer. This is one
of the narrations from Ahmad. The third group said that he performs 4 consecutive prostration and his prayer stands completed. This was held by Abu Hanifa, al-Zuhri and al-Awza'i. The fourth group said that the 4th is rectified with 2 prostrations. This is al-Shafi's opinion.
Okay, so see, we have 4 opinions and there is more than that. But what I want from you really is not only to know what are the opinions. I want you to know how they differed.
The reason for the disagreement over this stems from the consideration of sequential order. Those who took it into account in the rakahs and prostrations nullified the prayer.
See, if we say you have to do everything in sequence, in the correct order, that means the entire prayer is invalid. Because you did not do any rak'ah valid.
Those who took it into account for prostration alone nullified the rak'ahs except the last, and on the analogy of what a follower misses of the prayer of the imam. Thus, those who did not take sequential order into account permitted the prostrations of the entire prayer at one time in a single rak'ah, especially when they believe that the sequential order is not obligatory in an act that is repeated in each rak'ah, that is, in the prostrations, because each rak'ah comprises standing, bowing and prostrating, and the prostration is repeated.
Okay, again, see, each one of them looked into different thing. Is the entire order required, or is the order of the prostrations themselves is required, or there is no requirement for the order of the prayer? And based on that, we had these different opinions. Now we come to a next issue, which is sujood as-sahu, the prostration for forgetfulness. We will discuss few issues and hopefully we can continue later, because we have 6 main issues. 6 main issues that will be discussed. And this is in page 216. Read the introduction. Chapter 3.
Chapter 3, Prostrations of Forgetfulness. The prostrations transmitted in the law apply in one of two cases. First, in unintended excess or deficiency of acts or words, and second, in the case of doubt in the acts of the prayer.
Okay, so how many cases do we have? 2 cases. First case, unintended excess or deficiency in the prayer. Second, doubt. Either you added something to the prayer unintentionally, or you missed something of the prayer unintentionally, or you doubted. Why we say you added or you missed unintentionally? Because if you do this intentionally, sujood sahw won't help you. You have to repeat the prayer. Someone knowingly prayed 5 rak'ah, his prayer is invalid. You cannot say, I prayed 4 rak'ah, obligatory, and the last rak'ah is extra. Or you intended to miss part of the prayer, which you know it is part of the prayer, that also won't be rectified by sujood sahw. So we have those cases. Okay.
In the case of the prostrations resulting from the forgetfulness and not from the doubt, the discussion is covered in 6 sections. The first section is about the identification of the hukum of the prostration.
What's the ruling of sujood sahw? What its ruling? Do you have to do it or no? We will come to know that.
The second is about their occasions in the prayer.
When do we do them? Before salam, after salam, it depends. When do we do them?
The third relates to the identification of the species of the acts and the acts themselves because of which the prostrations are made. The fourth is about the description of the prostrations of forgetfulness. The fifth is about the identification of the person for whom the prostrations are obligatory. The sixth is about the means with which the follower alerts the imam about his forgetfulness.
Okay, so these are the issues that we will discuss. And let's start with the first one. Its ruling. What's the ruling of sujood sahw? You forgot. You forgot to do something, and you remembered at the end of the prayer. Do you have to do sujood sahw or no? Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said yes. Yes, you have to. So if you don't do it while you remembered, you committed a sin. Read the disagreement. First issue.
They disagreed about the prostrations of forgetfulness, whether they are an obligation or a sunnah. Al-Shafi held that they are sunnah, while Abu Hanifa held them to be an obligation, but as one of the conditions of the validity of prayer. Malik made a distinction between the prostration of forgetfulness caused by forgetting words or forgetting some acts, and also those caused by an excess or deficiency. He said that prostration of forgetfulness that are performed because of deficient acts are obligatory and are, according to him, one of the conditions of the validity of prayer.
Okay, so Imam Malik rahimahullah said it depends. Did you add something or you missed something? Is it words that you missed, like what? Allahu Akbar. You didn't say that. Or is it acts? You didn't do ruku', or you didn't do tashahhud, sitting. So it depends. If you missed something, there is deficiency to the prayer, then you have to do sujood sahw. What do they mean by condition of the validity? If you don't do it, the prayer is invalid. You have to do it. What's the reason of disagreement? Let's read.
This is the well-known report. It is also reported from him that...
Read the reason, next paragraph.
The reason for the disagreement arises from their dispute about the interpretation of the acts of Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah, this is what I want you really to focus on. Now, both of them are residing on the same evidence. But look, they took two different approaches. The acts of the Prophet ﷺ and his deeds. What did he do? The Messenger ﷺ. He did sujood sahw. This act of the Prophet ﷺ, is it mandatory for us to do the same, or it is a recommendation? Those who said the Prophet ﷺ forgot something of the prayer, so he prayed sujood sahu, that means it is mandatory. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." Pray as you saw me praying. He did not pray as the Prophet ﷺ prayed. This is a command, so it is invalid. Those who said that this is only recommendation, they said the Prophet ﷺ prayed sujood sahu to perfect the prayer, but it is not required. So they said it is what? Recommended. So that's their disagreement. Now, the next issue, the occasions for the prostration of forgetfulness, or when is it done? Before salam or after salam? We have some scholars who said it is done before salam, always. And that's the opinion of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. According to the Shafi'i school of thought, when do you do sujood sahu? Before salam. Some scholars said sujood sahu is after the salam, always. And that's the opinion of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. Some scholars said it depends. Sometimes it is done before salam, and sometimes it is done after salam. When do we do it before salam? If we, what? If we forgot something. If we missed something. If we added something, we pray, we do sujood sahu after the salam. Some scholars said we don't do sujood sahu except as the Prophet ﷺ did it. So it is not a case where you always measure what happened and try to do sujood sahu. If it's the same scenario that happened to the Prophet ﷺ, you do it as the Prophet ﷺ did it, be it before salam or after salam. Because sujood sahu could happen at any place in the prayer. You may miss Allahu Akbar, the first takbirah, takbirat al-ihram, which is a pillar. You may miss the ruku' itself. They said we only do sujood sahu in the 5 cases that was reported the Prophet ﷺ did sujood sahu in those cases. That's all. And there is also a 5th opinion for the Zahiriyah. So how many opinions do we have? 5. Although it should be, essentially it should be 2 only. Either before or after. But again, everyone has different approach. Now, what are the narrations from the Prophet ﷺ? What are the narrations? One narration says the Prophet ﷺ performed sujood sahu before salam. Another narration says the Prophet ﷺ performed sujood sahu after salam. What do you do? You, as a student of knowledge, heard 2 contradicting hadith. What do you do? How you combine?
Find out maybe the background.
What? You try to find out what? Online, what do you do?
Like what mistake was made in the salah that he.
Okay, so you need to look into the incident. But you have countless incidents now. What do you do with them? Again, the process is very important. Either you reconcile. How you reconcile? By saying, we accept both of them. Whatever the Prophet ﷺ did after the salam, for a reason. Every time that reason happens, we do it after salam. And whatever the Prophet ﷺ did before salam, we do it before salam. And every similar case, for that, we do it before salam. And that's what Imam Malik rahimahullah tried to do. Try to reconcile. Or, you choose. But you choose based on what? It doesn't have to be always abrogation. But you choose based on the strength. And that's the opinion of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. He said, the narrations that came with the cases that the Prophet ﷺ performed sujood sahw before salam are much stronger. So I take them. Versus the narrations that came after the salam. Especially that there is a narration says the last of the two matters of the Prophet ﷺ to perform sujood sahw before salam. But some scholars, of course, disagreed with that. So either you try to reconcile, again, how you reconcile, either by saying we limit sujood sahw to these 5 incidents, like Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, or you say we see in what occasions the Prophet ﷺ did sujood sahw before salam, in what occasions the Prophet ﷺ did sujood sahw after salam, and we do them, or you say I prefer one of the two, either these narrations or those narrations, based on a reason. You don't just choose and say I like this hadith, so I will take it, I don't like this hadith. You don't do that. Scholars don't do this. So that's really an important issue about the occasions. Please read, let's read a little bit. Although it is really very long discussion. It is over 2 pages actually, 2 full pages. It is almost 3 pages. You know, I will keep this for you actually. I want you to do this, the reading, and I hope one of you comes with a brief rulings on sujood sahw, just like paper, ruling on sujood sahw, when to be done, cases of sujood sahw, these things. We have 10 pages of discussion. What are the rulings here? Let's move to the next issue, page 220. The words and acts leading to prostration of forgetfulness. Read, please.
The words and acts leading to prostrations of forgetfulness are on account of omission of the sunnah of the prayer and not the obligations, nor on account of the desirable acts. There is no liability in their view for omission of this category. That is.
Do you understand this? They say sujood sahw is for the sunan, the recommended acts. Because if you missed a pillar of the prayer, it won't be sufficient to do sujood sahw. So you don't do sujood sahw. Also, the raga'ib, what is preferred act, like if you remember in the fiqh of Shafi'i, when we said وَتَارِكُ الْهَيْئَةِ لَا يَعُودُ لِمِثْلِهَا وَلَا لَهُ سُجُودُ. You don't do them and you don't have sujood sahw. Like what? If you remember in the Shafi'i school of thought, to say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, what's the ruling on that? Fard? I can't hear you. Fard. No, that's wrong. According to the Shafi school of thought, it is hay'ah. What do you mean by hay'ah? It is preferred act. Which means if you did not do it, you don't do anything. Neither sujood sahw, nor even you repeat it. Someone is sitting between the 2 tashahuds, and he did not do anything. What do you tell him? Do sujood sahw? No. However, in the Shafi'i school of thought, if you did not do the qunut in Salat al-Subh, do you do sujood sahw? Yes. According to Imam Malik rahimahullah, you don't do sujood sahw. Although in his opinion also it is recommended to do dua al-qunut. So it depends. Not every act that you miss requires sujood sahw. That's what he meant by fard, raga'ib, preferred acts. Go on.
That is, if the person forgets one of them in prayer, unless they happen more than once. For example, Malik is of the view that there is no obligation for prostrations on account of forgetting a single takbir.
Okay, if you are saying Allahu Akbar and you recited Al-Fatiha and everything, and then to go for ruku' you went down without saying Allahu Akbar. Now according to some scholars this is a must, but according to Imam Malik rahimahullah it's not, it's recommended. Do you do sujood sahw? After you said وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ آمِينَ قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana. You did not even say Allahu Akbar. If it happened once, according to Imam Malik rahimahullah, you don't do sujood sahw. But if it happened more than that, then yes, you do sujood sahw. That's what he means. Go on.
But there is a prostration for leaving out more than one act of this category. There can be no validity with the omission of obligations. They are
Why? Because you have to do the obligated act. The obligatory has to be done.
They are to be performed and undertaken. The consequences of forgetting them is the repetition of the prayer as a whole, as has preceded in the discussion of what leads to repetition and what leads to qada. I mean, like a person who may relinquish one of the constituent elements of the prayer.
Okay. Someone came to the prayer, and after finishing the prayer, he remembered, I did not have wudu. Do you tell him perform sujood sahw? No, he has to repeat the entire prayer. While another one, he forgot one rak'ah, an entire rak'ah. He has to repeat the entire rak'ah. You don't tell him do sujood sahw and that's enough. So it depends.
The prostrations of forgetfulness on account of an excess, on the other hand, occur due to an excess in the obligations as well as the sunnah. In this statement, there is no dispute among them. They disagree only on the basis of their dispute as to what acts are obligation and what are not.
Yeah, that's because from the beginning, again, to some scholars, takbir is wajib. To others, takbir is not wajib. To some scholars, the middle tashahhud is wajib. To other scholars, middle tashahhud is not wajib. So based on that, some of them said, Alhamdulillah. Some of them said, you have to do sujood sahw. Others said, no, it is only recommended. Based on their disagreement over what's obligatory and what is not.
The prostrations of forgetfulness on account of an excess, on the other hand, occur due to an excess in the obligation as well as the sunnah.
Okay, we will stop here inshallah, and we will continue later with the sujood sahw. Any questions so far? Okay, we'll have a break inshallah.